Before we jump into this massive breaking update, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications right now, because what you're about to hear is not just another Dodgers rumor, not just another hot take, but a situation that many insiders quietly expected, and now the Dodgers themselves have finally spoken. This is one of those moments where the front office language, the timing, and the reaction around the league all tell a much bigger story than the headline alone. So buckle up, because the Kyle Tucker situation and what the Dodgers just said about it could reshape how we look at their entire championship window. Breaking news, and yes, this one was expected if you've been reading between the lines. The Los Angeles Dodgers have officially addressed the Kyle Tucker chatter, and their response is already setting the baseball world on fire. For weeks, even months, fans and analysts have been connecting dots, watching subtle moves, contract structures, and front office behavior that all pointed in one direction. Now, with the Dodgers finally acknowledging the situation around Kyle Tucker, it feels like the curtain has been pulled back just enough to confirm what many already believed: this was never a random rumor, and it was never coming out of nowhere. Kyle Tucker is not just another star outfielder. He's one of the most complete, modern hitters in Major League Baseball, a player who combines elite power, plate discipline, defensive versatility, and postseason-ready composure. Anytime his name even whispers into trade or long-term planning conversations, the entire league pays attention. And when the Dodgers are attached to that whisper, it becomes a roar. The Dodgers don't chase stars recklessly. They target players who fit their long-term vision, their data-driven philosophy, and their relentless pursuit of sustained dominance. Kyle Tucker checks every single one of those boxes. What makes this situation so fascinating is how calm, calculated, and almost unsurprised the Dodgers' response sounded. There was no panic, no denial, no aggressive shutdown of speculation. Instead, the tone was measured, professional, and revealing in its own quiet way. That alone tells you something important. When an organization flatly denies a rumor, it usually does so loudly. When it carefully chooses its words, it's often because there's more going on behind the scenes than they're willing to say publicly. The Dodgers emphasize their ongoing commitment to building a roster that can compete not just this season, but for years to come. They spoke about valuing elite talent, versatility, and players who can perform under pressure. They talked about remaining aggressive when opportunities align with their organizational goals. Notice what they didn't say. They didn't say Kyle Tucker wasn't a fit. They didn't say the idea was unrealistic. They didn't say conversations never happened. Instead, they spoke in broad terms that, to seasoned fans, sounded like confirmation without confirmation. And that's why so many people are saying this was expected. The Dodgers have been positioning themselves for a move like this for a long time. Look at their payroll flexibility. Look at the contracts they've structured. Look at the prospects they've refused to move and the ones they've quietly developed to boost trade value. Look at how they've balanced star power with depth. This is not accidental. This is preparation. Kyle Tucker represents exactly the kind of player the Dodgers target when they believe the timing is right. He's entering or already in his prime. He's proven himself at the highest level. He elevates a lineup without forcing a complete identity shift. Put him alongside the current Dodgers core, and suddenly opposing pitchers have no room to breathe. There's no easy inning. No soft spot. No matchup you feel good about if you're on the other side. What also matters here is how the rest of the league is reacting. Rival executives aren't dismissing this. Media insiders aren't laughing it off. Instead, you're hearing phrases like logical, inevitable, and a perfect storm. When people around baseball start using language like that, it's because they see the same thing the Dodgers see. They see an opportunity lining up with a need, a timeline lining up with a contract situation, and an organization that has both the resources and the patience to strike at the exact right moment. The Dodgers' comments also reflect confidence. Confidence in their current roster, yes, but also confidence in their ability to adapt and improve. They don't speak like a team desperate to make a splash. They speak like a team that knows it's already strong and is simply waiting for the right upgrade to push them over the top. That's a dangerous mindset for the rest of the league, because it means the Dodgers aren't rushing. They're hunting. Kyle Tucker in a Dodgers uniform isn't just about adding another star. It's about sending a message. A message that the Dodgers are not slowing down. A message that even with recent success, they're not satisfied. A message that if there's a chance to become even more dominant, they're going to explore it fully. That's what dynasties do. They don't react. They anticipate. Fans have been debating how this would even work. Where would he play? How would the lineup look? What would it mean for current players? Those are good questions, but the Dodgers have shown time and time again that they can solve those puzzles. They thrive on versatility. They love players who can move, adapt, and contribute in multiple ways. Kyle Tucker fits that model perfectly. He doesn't create problems. He solves them. There's also the psychological aspect. Imagine being a pitcher facing the Dodgers in a big series, knowing that on top of everything else, you now have to deal with Kyle Tucker in the middle of that order. That changes how teams game plan. It changes bullpen usage. It changes late inning strategy. It changes everything. And the Dodgers know that. They understand that elite players don't just produce stats. They create fear. The front office's response also signals patience. They're not committing to anything publicly, but they're also not closing doors. That tells fans to stay alert. It tells rivals to stay nervous. And it tells Kyle Tucker, whether directly or indirectly, that the Dodgers see him as the kind of player who belongs in their long-term vision. This is where expectations meet reality. The headline says breaking news, but the deeper truth is that this story has been building quietly for a long time. The Dodgers didn't wake up one morning and suddenly start thinking about Kyle Tucker. This has been on the radar. The conversations, the evaluations, the internal debates, they've been happening behind closed doors while fans speculated online. And now that the Dodgers have spoken, even in a carefully controlled way, the volume on this story has been turned up. Every move from here on out will be analyzed. Every lineup decision, every roster tweak, every contract extension or non-extension will be viewed through the lens of what does this mean for Kyle Tucker. That's the reality when a star of his caliber is linked to a franchise like this. What makes Dodgers fans especially excited is that this doesn't feel reckless. It feels smart. It feels aligned. It feels like the next logical step in an ongoing plan. That's why so many are saying, yeah, this was expected. Not because it's guaranteed, but because it makes sense. Because it fits the pattern. Because it feels like something the Dodgers would do when they believe the time is right. As we move forward, expect the noise to get louder. Expect more insider reports. Expect more debates. Expect more reactions from players, analysts, and fans across the league. But remember this moment. Remember how the Dodgers responded. Calm. Confident. Unbothered. That tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they're taking this, and how prepared they are for whatever comes next. If Kyle Tucker does eventually become a Dodger, this video will feel like the opening chapter of a story that everyone should have seen coming. And if it doesn't happen, the fact that it was even this plausible, this realistic, and this openly acknowledged by the organization tells you just how aggressive and forward-thinking the Dodgers remain. Either way, this is Dodgers baseball. Always thinking ahead. Always planning the next move. Always keeping the rest of the league guessing. And as fans, this is exactly the kind of moment that makes following this team so thrilling. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Kyle Tucker ends up in Los Angeles? Did the Dodgers' response convince you this is more than just talk? And once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because if anything else breaks on this story, you know we'll have it covered the second it happens.